Welcome to We Are Venomaniacs, the Venom site's official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views. My name is Orion, and I'm joined today by Carlos, Tyler, and Aaron. Say hi, guys.
Yo.
Hello.
Alrighty. So today's episode is a special one because it's our first podcast recorded with a live audience on the We Are Venomaniacs Discord server. This will be a fun new format for future episodes where our audience can listen in as we record a new episode and chat with the hosts before the podcast is even published on YouTube. So, in today's episode, we will be reviewing Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's stellar first arc to Venom, issues number 1 through 6, titled Rex, as well as Cates and Juanan Ramirez's one-shot tie-in, Web of Venom, Venom. So, let's go ahead and begin with reviewing the first arc of the latest Venom ongoing series. Cates and Stegman's breakout arc of Venom Rex concluded this past week to a shocking and emotional cliffhanger. To recap, here's a brief summary of the first 6 issues. 6 months after the end of Mike Costa's run on Venom, Eddie is back to operating alone as Venom out of a rundown apartment. Lately, the symbiote has been acting strange, and, at one point, becomes possessed by an otherworldly influence. Venom meets Rex Strickland, a former symbiote super soldier from Project Rebirth 2.0, during the Vietnam War. Eventually, Eddie learns that Rex and his Sim Soldier teammates symbiotes were fragments of a giant symbiote dragon known as the Grendel, an emissary of the evil symbiote god, Null. Null wipes the floor with Eddie after taking control of the Venom symbiote and partially purifying it of human influence. Eddie learns that Null is trying to complete the Grendel's reunification so it could break Null's physical body free from his prison, Clintar, the symbiote's homeworld. This leads to a revelation that the human Rex Strickland had died decades before, and that the Rex Eddie had met was, in fact, the original soldier's symbiote, and the missing piece of the Grendel. Venom and Rex join together as one amalgamated symbiote to take on Null's avatar and the Grendel. Rex sacrifices himself to drag Null into a furnace, killing the avatar. Venom holds the furnace blast doors shut to prevent Null escaping, causing Eddie to catch fire, and the symbiote seemingly pass a point of no return as it keeps Eddie alive. The first arc ends with Eddie half dead and crispy on the floor in a black puddle that used to be the Venom symbiote. So guys, was this Eddie and Venom's Rick Remender moment like we had hoped it would be?
For me, like this whole story arc was just absolutely fantastic. It was a lot better than Costa's run from last year, and just seeing the new stuff that Donny Cates and Ryan are bringing to the table, like I've just been blown away of the whole story they have been giving us, and I just want more from them. And the whole, appearance of Null coming into play, like that was pretty cool. So.
Well, for me personally, from the start, I was very excited about this series, but then maybe about 2 or 3 issues in, I was like, okay, you see maybe 2 or 3 issues on the backstory. When are we going to see some good Venom action? We had one issue that explained where Rex came from. Then we had another issue explaining Null and the symbiote's origins. So I was kind of getting upset, like this is supposed to be a Venom book, but we're kind of going at a slow pace here. But now that I look back, I think those were very much needed, so we had that satisfying conclusion in issue 6.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked this new. It's not really a retcon of the symbiote origin. As Donny has stated in multiple interviews, he believes in the additive approach of adding to canon instead of completely retconning things. So he really added to what was already established in canon. Specifically, he was kind of adding on to what Bendis. Was Bendis? Yeah, it was Bendis. Had written about the, symbiotes being the Clintar, their homeworld, and all that, and kind of expanding on that and adding to it, saying, everything that you thought about the symbiotes, what they were saying, how they're a benevolent race. Well, everything you thought about that, and then what you thought beforehand with the original Planet of the Symbiotes arc, where they're like, oh, we're a race of evil creatures who go throughout the galaxy and enslave hosts and everything. Well, they're both true, where the Clintar origin is like the symbiotes trying to make themselves better from what they originally were, which really was this evil race of creatures. So I really like that, especially since they tied it into an older arc of Thor, God of Thunder, and the whole what's it called? It's All Black, the Necrosword. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of found Null's origin story very, very interesting. Not to mention that I think Kate's also revealed the word Clintar meant cage. Am I correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cage. Yeah. So, just seeing the whole origin story, it kind of was a new breath of fresh air for me. I never got to read Planet of the Symbiotes, but I don't mind the add-ons Donnie has put into the whole mythos for the Venom lore. So it really kind of works, and I hopefully he can flesh it out more, maybe bring something else to the table, because didn't also Rex mention about Venom's true name of some sort? Because didn't he say something that Rex to Eddie?
Yeah, Rex basically said, do you even know what your symbiote's name is? Do you even know how old it is, or anything like that?
Yeah.
Oh, first off, I just want to say that I would still absolutely argue that it is a textbook retcon. It's a bad thing, but that's another conversation for another time. But I really do like what he did. I would agree with Aaron in that this whole arc has definitely been a lot of setup and backstory, and I feel like it's been Donny Cates writing the tracks, getting everything back on track because as we know, the Bendis retcon was very controversial, and there were parts I liked of it, but there's also parts that I definitely did not like at all, and so I feel like this took the good parts. They're not symbiote Green Lantern rings anymore. That was literally a lie they made up to make up for their past actions. And I really you asked at the beginning, do you think this is the Eddie's Remender moment? And I don't know if I can say that it is, because we haven't seen as much focus on Eddie yet. I think we're getting set up for that. It got very into Flash's personal life and what makes him tick. And so, but I think, and I'm really curious to see what he's going to do with Eddie and his relationship with the symbiote.
Because as of right now, they did say in the solicitations, I believe it maybe was issue 7 or 8, they are going to be setting up a new event next year, so it could be towards that or something completely else. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Oh, pretty sweet. So, this is one of the cool things about the being on a live recording, is that one of our listeners, Mr. Gallows, commented that Donny Cates had told him at Boston Fan Expo that we're definitely going to see Eddie's father in a future issue. So that's great.
Considering Eddie's father stuff, how do you feel about the whole? This was something we talked about way earlier. It was the slight changes Donnie's made to Eddie with him being a single child.
I mean, that's not really a huge change, because even then, when he first got a sibling, it was kind of like a throwaway line in Nova, a really bad selling Nova series years ago. And then the only time we saw Mary, his sister, again was in the Dark Origin mini, which a lot of us don't think was necessarily good. But also not even canon.
Yeah.
So I think I'm fine with not having a sister.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think you're right, where Dark Origin can't really be considered canon. Because I think Dark Origin came out around the time of Spider-Man 3, which I think they were just, trying to make something for Spider-Man 3. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and apparently, according to Mr. Gallows, Donnie kept on referring to Eddie's dad as Eddie Brock Sr. instead of Carl Brock, which is his actual name, so hopefully he'll remember that his name is Carl Brock.
Well, yeah, because I don't really want to let Eddie be called Junior, because that just, I'm not a fan of that idea.
Get all this stuff out of here.
Not a fan of being a junior.
Yeah.
And then even though, we don't really like Dark Origins that much, I still did like the little nod to it with the Null symbiote origins. Like the little, like, the little alien.
Like the Furby things.
Yeah, those were cool.
Furby
Yeah, let's talk about Null, man. Null is, like, who knew he was gonna be such a cool character?
I love his design, but the thing is too is like people were bringing up in the comments, even on Twitter, people were like saying like, "Oh, why does Null have the spider logo?" It looks like a spider logo, but it's not. It's actually a dragon with wings. I guess it just precurses the Venom spider logo. I don't know what the full connection is because people were having debates of the Venom spider logo and Null's dragon logo. So I actually like it.
Julia Carpenter. Where did Julia get it from? That's the question.
She saw a vision of Null from a symbiote she found sometime, obviously. It's clearly what happened.
Julia's secret war.
Now that's the thing. Now I can't remember because the whole dragon symbol thing. Like, I know that we have the Grendel, which is a giant symbiote dragon, so that would make sense if it's based on Grendel. But did Null have the dragon symbol before he created the Grendel? Because I think the Grendel was supposed to be like his second symbiote creation after All Black.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look like he had that symbol. Well, like beforehand, he had that sort of. He had like the armored look, and then I think after that whole origin story at the end of was issue 3 or issue 4?
Actually, it's issue 4 is where the origin story began.
So it was issue 4.
Yeah.
At the end of issue 4, we see him sitting on the throne with the symbol. So maybe he just had it later.
Actually, okay, so this is interesting. So I'm right now looking through it, and the symbol, although it's not red, it actually does show up after he creates All Black.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
The Necro Sword, wasn't that his first creation?
Yeah, All Black, the Necro Sword.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So...
And I didn't say anything about that before, but I do think that's a really cool idea to, like, weave that into the Thor mythos. And because that was one of my... Even though I'm not a huge fan of the stuff Jason Aaron did after that, I think his original God of Thunder stuff was awesome. And so, and plus with how it already acted sort of like a symbiote, I think it was a really neat idea.
I'm really surprised that Null didn't use a sword in the last issue. Like, what happened to it?
The sword was thrown into a black hole the last time I checked in the Thor series.
Well,
the 616 is in a black hole until, like...
Yeah, like in the future.
Our future.
Like, yeah, some weird stuff happened. So just go read Thor to see what happens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? I will say, not totally sold on. You guys have talked about how you love Null and whatnot. I still don't like how he looks so much like a human, and I'm really hoping that's not his true form. Like, I've said this before, but it's more of like an eldritch monster sort of look. Like, and I think they've sort of teased that with, like, especially like in the last issue, he was definitely looking more monstrous, and then after Miles punched him, when he was forming, he definitely looked more monstrous, so I would appreciate if he looked less human.
It probably could have been like a phantom form, but I actually did like his human appearance. It kind of reminded me of, from the old Lord of the Rings books of, he looked like Hanatar, the Bringer of Gifts, which I've also, told to Orion, because we're both Lord of the Rings fans, so I kind of see the similarities.
And for the people who aren't Lord of the Rings fans, that much of a fan, Anatar is secretly, not really a secret, is Sauron.
So, here's another thing I think we can all agree is that the art was absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Really beautiful splash pages. Like I love the way he does like the cool panel setups with like Venom's face in the background and like building the weapons and stuff on him. It's absolutely gorgeous art. And like coloring also by, who did the coloring?
Let me take a quick look there. But yeah, it was definitely great art. And
like what's so great about the art is that like we can have every single page as a second printing variant or a third printing variant or a sixth printing variant.
So our color artist, I think, was Frank Martin.
And then J.P. Mayer is the inker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, they all did a great job. I think for me, like, my favorite page ever is in issue 5 when it's that huge splash page where Venom's flying with his new Venom wings, as I like to call them, when he's carrying Miles to safety. So now we have a Batman Venom. I like it. So.
I think my favorite page has got to be that symbiote dragon, the first reveal. That is just looks awesome.
Right. So I got a question. So when Venom comes back, which of course he will, is he still going to have the wings, or were the wings only temporary because he just bonded with Rex for a little while? Like, do we think the symbiote's going to come back the same way it was, or do we think it's still going to have the powers and the like in heightened
the thing is,
it was saying for?
Didn't Null purify Venom?
He was, because Null was trying to bring Venom back into the collective, but then it was like cut short by Mike.
Right, yeah.
So it's a good question to say, like, I think this is going to be a permanent thing. It might be a thing he... I don't think we're going to have Venom flying around from now on. So...
But here's the real question. Can Venom turn into a dragon, yes or no?
No, I mean, if he has the wings, but then what's the point of him web slinging? Because he'll just fly. It's more faster. But I don't know. I think it's probably like a limited time type of thing for the wings. So we'll see where it goes from there.
It will go. It will go the way of the Space Knight Venom upgrades. Forgotten entirely.
Another thing I really like that Donnie did was Miles. Like, I've warm on Miles in the past. I feel like he's like a pretty carbon copy of Peter, personality-wise. I think Tate gave him a bit more of a distinct voice, especially with like Eddie and the stuff involving the symbiote and his mom. And so I definitely think that's interesting. And I love seeing Eddie just interact with Miles and just like cutting his web line, dropping him in the mouth. Like, that whole thing is great.
That's the thing that kind of annoyed me. Like, I didn't really understand why he shoehorned him in. I can understand that he has a beef with him because of what happened in his universe with his ultimate Venom killing his mom, but even Eddie was just so confused. Like, who's this kid? Why is he attacking me? I don't know who your mom is, kid. Like, what the hell? You know, I don't know. I just didn't understand why he just got shoehorned in there.
Probably secretly hoping the entire time that this kid doesn't say, "Are you my father?" Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, that was one of the worrisome things I think we were talking about when it was first announced that in issue 2, Miles Morales was going to be making an appearance. Like, we were worried, like, oh, already so soon we were going to have a guest appearance, but it actually turned out to be a really cool guest appearance. Definitely helped Eddie, drive the story. And hopefully it might, be indicative of something in the future with Miles coming back into Eddie's life.
Do we want to talk about what we think is going to happen next in the story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I don't know if a whole lot of folks know this, but in the next few issues, Eddie is going to be almost bald, and he's going to have a beard.
Oh, yeah.
Like Kratos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Bearded Eddie.
And it seemed like from a few things that Ryan Stegman posted that he's going to go on a bus somewhere, and since we already sort of know that he's meeting his father, I think we're all thinking he is going to go back to San Francisco because he's lonely and he doesn't have the symbiote anymore. So he's going to try to talk with his dad a little bit.
And then who else is going to San Francisco at the same time?
Well, we may have to read Web of Venom Carnage Born to find out.
Well, no. Another Marvel character is going to San Francisco.
Oh, that's true. Superior Spider-Man is, right?
Yeah, yep.
That's something I always want to see.
I did not know that.
Yeah, dude, I want to see Ock and Venom throw down.
Yeah, I mean...
I absolutely want to see Eddie beat the shit out of him. Let's do that.
for what he did to the symbiote and calling himself the new Lethal Protector.
Though I'm pretty sure...
Oh, that's a no-no.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Ock will have like, oh well, I knew you were going to be here, so I already have Sonics and Fire. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ock could do something like that. But yeah, man, that would be great if those two. So let's touch briefly on this new Venom story that's happening over the summer. That's supposed to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think we already pretty much know it's going to be about
Carnage.
Carnage.
Yeah. Like, like this is going to be the first time in, I think it was 15 years, that Eddie as Venom crosses paths with Carnage again.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a huge thing.
It's going to be amazing because everyone's like, oh, Venom and Carnage fight every other week. It's not a big deal. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. They really don't fight as often as you think they do.
They fought every other week, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't we just see them fight in the previous Carnage run and then the alternate Carnage in Venomverse?
As Venom.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
As Venom.
Doesn't
And
count.
Venomverse doesn't count either because that was not 616 Cletus.
Not canon. Don't count.
No, this is OG Venom versus OG Carnage.
But does Eddie or Carnage even have their symbiotes, though?
That's what I was about to say. We gotta see what happened with this OG Cletus since he's sort of, kind of
drifting in space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drifting in space as a poison still. So
but then
let's see
from
where
the
that
preview
goes.
pages, it sort of looks like he may not have a symbiote because it sort of looked like he just had like a bodysuit on.
If that is even Cletus.
But again, if that is him, remember we also saw in Conan Bond's X-Men Blue, Jimmy Hudson was still a poison and can just turn back to human form, no problem at all. So
Yep. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they want to sell Venom versus Carnage more than they want to sell Venom versus kind of Poison Carnage, you know?
I'm just kind of curious. Like, is he still gonna have like his body still cut in half, or is his legs grown? Because weren't they fully grown in Venom Carnage?
I would be perfectly fine with Poison healing his legs. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
Like with Jean Grey or whatever, she came back fully normal. I feel like Carnage is going to come back fully healed. I feel like, because that was such an inconsistent thing already. Like, some books were like, oh wait, you have robot legs. That's weird. And then some artists completely forgot it.
He's wearing a pair of Schrodinger legs. They're both robotic and fleshy until observed.
Unless you see them. Yeah, unless we see them. Like half the time, like he had legs, or like he only was missing from the kneecaps, or like it was fully robotic up to his waist. Yeah, like it was awful.
But I'm hoping, along with Carnage's return, I hope we see Shriek make a return, because Carnage and Shriek,
yeah,
greatest pair.
Maybe we'll see Riot because everyone
literally
loves
nothing
Riot.
with Venom, basically.
Bring back Riot.
Everyone's clamoring for Riot to come back.
And bring back Dr. Drake. We want to see him. Bring back Riot and the Life Foundation. That's what we really want.
Bring back Scream.
We did get a jury shout out in the last issue of Venom.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, about the grenades. The grenades, right?
Riot.
And
also,
Defective Pupper is saying we want Scream as well.
Yeah, Scream.
But aren't they all bonded to that dog from Deadpool vs. Carnage?
Scream is the one. The rest of Hybrid is bonded to the dog, but Scream is so far supposedly dead. But Hybrid was supposedly dead as well. Eddie's not great at killing symbiote parents, so
He tries his best.
Just goes along with his ignorance, so ignorant.
Well, you guys know he wants to kill him, and he just said he was.
One thing I wanted to ask everyone about, going back to the Donny Cates 6 issues and Brian Stegman, is there any negatives you guys would like? Is there one thing you can point out that you definitely did not like? Anything at all?
Constantly bleeding nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bleeding
that's
nose.
a small, very small nitpick.
Like it wasn't even. The blood wasn't even boiled off when he was burning with that furnace. It's like, okay. So it's still fresh.
Venom didn't even clean it off his face. You would think he would do
Constant
that.
state of just flowing blood. He needs to taste the blood to feel alive.
Eddie is like an anime character, just a sack of blood.
Crawling in my skin.
issues.
The one negative I would have, again, it's another nitpick thing, where, when Null killed the one Celestial, chopped his head off, and then, makes his thing in that head, Donny Cates later said on Twitter that was Nowhere.
Oh.
While I normally would have thought that would have been awesome, as a big Cosmic fan, that thing looks nothing like Nowhere should look. And so that was kind of annoying. I don't know if that was a miscommunication or that Ryan Stegman didn't know that was supposed to be Nowhere or didn't know what Nowhere looks like, but it's just something, nitpicky. If I had seen that Nowhere head, I would have been so hyped for that scene.
Bro, if you drew a giant alien head in space, I would say that's Nowhere. I wouldn't know the difference.
Same.
Very specific shape in the comics, Orion, okay? Well, first appearance was in Nowhere in a Nova issue, and so important to me.
Yeah.
Again, for me, the only nitpick like I said before earlier, was Miles just being shooed in for no reason. So, I mean, yeah, he did look good, but I just think there was no point to him.
Yeah, I mean, the only point, again, his Venom Stinger power pretty much saved the day, or, partially saved the day, so it's he was brought in for his power.
Yeah, if Miles would have helped out, in the last issue, and, kind of jumped in and saved Eddie, maybe that would have, I don't know, I kind of
more redeeming,
yeah, probably focused on him, but I do think I would have liked to see more of Miles, besides just to show up and then shock Null and then just be thrown away alright kid, you're done, thanks, bye. But, yeah, I mean, there'll be time for, Spider-Man crossovers with Venom later.
So, Eddie, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of, I know we just had Venom Inc. and whatnot, but I am curious how Spider-Man would react to Venom, especially after 800, where they seem to settle all their differences, once and for all. I really hope it's just not another case okay, Eddie, we're finally truce, and the next time you see him, he's like, Eddie, I gotta stop you! That happens, every time.
Yeah, because it's he allowed him at Flash's funeral, so it's oh, are we good now? Are we finally good? I mean, come on now.
No, they're not. No,
MJ was good with that. Come on.
Yeah. So, for any new listeners, we kind of, Venom isn't really an antagonist of Peter Parker anymore. It's kind of flipped on its head where now
it's
Peter Parker is the antagonist.
Yeah.
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 And this is why Venom deserves its own movie.
Exactly.
It all makes sense.
Parker is a symbophobe.
Hey, what if in Venom 2, Carnage is just the teaser villain, where the real villain is actually Peter Parker?
Dun, dun, dun.
And Venom will have to team him up with Carnage to stop Spider-Man.
Yeah, man.
Ooh, flip it on its head.
What if it's Norman Osborn and not Cletus? What are we gonna do?
Oh no. Alright, well I think that does it for a review. Do we want to rate it? Everyone give it a rating? For just this first arc.
The arc as a whole?
Arc as a whole.
I give it 7 reprints out of 7 reprints.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah, so, it's up to 5 reprints now, right? The first issue?
I know. Yeah.
So, yeah, better than Watchmen.
Yeah, man, Watchmen didn't get 5 reprints, did it?
How many variant covers did the first Watchmen have? So
yeah, right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's pretty definitive. It's so that's my rating. Better than Watchmen.
I'm giving my rating. I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Pretty solid.
For me, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. Pretty much, it's good.
Yeah. All right. I think that's pretty good. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next part, which is our review of Web of Venom, Venom, or Venom, however you'd like to say that.
He starts playing.
Yeah. This one-shot by writer Donny Cates and artist Juan Ramirez serves as a backstory for Rex Strickland and his symbiote commandos from Cates and Stegman's main series. Set during the Vietnam War, Colonel Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. unearthed the Grendel symbiote dragon trapped in ice. After studying the creature, Fury assembles a team of commandos led by Rex Strickland and bonds them to pieces of the Grendel symbiote to create super soldiers. However, their first mission in the jungles of Vietnam proves to be their last as the symbiotes take over and turn on both enemies and allies. So Fury enlists the help of one James Howlett, aka Wolverine of the X-Men, to hunt and neutralize the monsters he unleashed. So how did the first Web of Venom issue compare to Kate's main series?
I enjoyed the issue. I struggled to see why we needed that story, because we pretty much already knew all of what happens and why it happens after Rex told us. I would have liked to see more of Rex living as a symbiote/human. You know, like, how does he explain, like, oh, your job is to hunt down symbiotes, but you're actually one yourself. Did he have to sell out some people? How do folks not find out that he's a symbiote? Like, I would have liked to see more of Rex's own life instead of this flashback where we knew pretty much all the details, besides things that kind of threw in, like, Wolverine and Nick Fury. Like, we already knew they, like, obviously found a dragon, found the symbiotes, and they used them on soldiers, and they were bad. So I did enjoy the series, or the issue again. I just didn't see why we really needed that story to be told.
I'm definitely with you, Aaron, on that. Like, at its core, it really wasn't even a symbiote story. It was a Wolverine and Nick Fury story featuring symbiotes.
Which is fine if folks like those characters.
Absolutely. Like, it was a fun ride. I absolutely enjoyed it, but it didn't really present us with any new information other than that Wolverine was involved.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I would have preferred if we had gotten something more similar to the cover, with, like, his teammates and stuff being bonded to symbiotes and their relationship with that, and then, like, how it all went to hell.
I mean, it was a decent issue. It wasn't, like, anything great or anything. It's just, I wasn't really surprised that they added Logan in, because it was pretty obvious they're promoting his Return Wolverine event that's happening right now. So when I saw him appear, I'm like, oh yeah, that explains why he's in this issue. And I kind of found it weird. He even used his claws in the issue, which is pretty odd.
Yeah. Like, never once referred to as Wolverine. He was just James Howlett and never used his claws. I mean, if you were a comic reader, you'd look at this and say, who is this guy? I mean, the haircut is definitely iconic Wolverine, but even still, this wasn't really Wolverine as you would know him.
Yeah. It was just pretty much the whole issue was just giving more backup, you know, adding more on top to what we already knew from the previous issues on the main run. But yeah, it wasn't too bad, but it was just like, meh. So yeah.
Yeah. Now there was actually one thing I did want to mention with regarding Rex from the main series, and how it was revealed that he was just the symbiote and the human portion of him had died long ago. In the first issue of Venom, when he's asking Eddie, you know, what do you actually know about your symbiote? He asks, do you age when you wear it? Because I don't know if you noticed, but I don't exactly look my years. Which is an interesting thing for him to say as just the symbiote. So, like, you know, how exactly does that work?
He was probably just trying to still hide under the guise of a human, I'd say.
Yeah, it's an odd thing to bring up because, like, does the symbiote know it's able to halt human aging or what? I mean, yeah, Eddie looks pretty good for someone who's gotta be over his 40s if we're counting comic book time.
I mean, realistically, comic book characters now, they age very slowly. I mean, Eddie's had the symbiote for years in real lifetime, and Peter's pretty much the same age. They haven't aged a bit.
Yeah. Otherwise, that was my side how it related to the Venom story. But yeah, it was. When I read the issue, I was like, I wasn't exactly overly thrilled about it. It was a fine issue, but it kind of left me like, okay, so we have that story. There's not much to it.
When's Carnage born, baby? That's what I want to read.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's coming in November, so we're gonna get Carnage born, which is the next issue.
Riot born? I want Riot born after that.
That's the thing. I really hope they continue these Web of Venom one-shot, or these Web of Venom one-shots.
I mean, we see something at New York Comic-Con next month, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
After Carnage Born, we can get Flash Reborn.
Yeah.
Wait, he's not dead. Valkyrie saved him.
Alright. So I guess we don't really have that much more to say about Venom. It was an okay issue, but it's nothing overly exciting. Which it's kind of a little disappointing that it wasn't something a little more special since it was Kate's writing it. But you know, they can't all be winners. So otherwise, I think that's pretty much it for the reviews. We can have a brief word about our initial thoughts and feelings about Venom First Host. We're not quite done with it yet. It'll finish up this next week.
Oh boy!
But
oh boy!
Only initial thoughts, guys, because we can save all of our thoughts for a future episode. That'll have to be episode 15, which we can do at some point. But yeah. So what are our initial thoughts right now about?
Bad.
Garbage!
It is a mini-series, written by Mike Costa, and it's illustrated by Mark Bagley and 50 other people.
I was about to say.
And, there's a new symbiote, whose name is something else.
Kind enough.
And Costa made a terrible new original character that completely like Lee.
Pre-price.
Yeah,
but like at least with Lee, like this dude was written so he's actually mean and he actually gets killed off, so it's okay.
And
the symbiote hasn't even been named in the official comics yet, so
yeah, it's only been named in issue 4's recap. That's it, and I think we're not even going to see it named at all in this series.
But before we get too much more into that, like one of our podcast hosts who could not join us today, he says, how do you guys feel about the new symbiote origin being more mythological rather than sci-fi? He says he always liked the symbiotes as alien, but with the new origin, he feels like they're almost more like mythological beasts. Like, what are our thoughts on that?
Well, doesn't every single like alien race have a creation story that's like magical like that? Like didn't we just find out like a few months back that like humans and like all life was made from like vomit of the Celestials? So like humans and like aliens always have this weird origin story just so they seem more fantastical, I guess. Which I think is fine because, I don't know, like I think it's fine personally just because every other, alien always has this. So I'm fine with it.
Personally, for me, I don't really mind it. I mean, again, with what Donnie's doing, I'm completely doing. He's adding more tweaks and his own spin on things, and I'm actually on board with it. Like, it doesn't really bother me at all.
I don't know if I don't think I'd call it mythological, because not only is Null like an eldritch being, like before the universe existed, but then, like, Thor fought aliens and stuff all the time. Like, one of Thor's classic villains is fighting, like, the Rockmen or whatever from, like, Horde species. So it's like, I think it's just sort of like putting aliens in a mythological, like, setting. Like interacting with Thor and stuff.
Yeah.
I really liked how they did it, and like turning Grendel from Beowulf into, like, a symbiote dragon. Like, I think that's a really fun idea.
And I was confused. Did they, because in the whole origin about Grendel and everything, it was Thor's power that stopped the Grendel initially. Were they making Thor out to be Beowulf? I was confused by that.
is an actual character in the Marvel universe. I know that.
Yeah, I know, but
he didn't show up, and Thor's like, well, I'm not Bill, but I can knock this frog out for you.
yeah.
Pretty much, that's what happened, yeah.
Well, I think that will do for today's episode. So, before we close out, there are a few topics to address. First, the Venom site is hosting 2 giveaways in honor of Venom's 30th anniversary, the upcoming Venom movie, and the Venom site's 10th anniversary. So, you can enter for a chance to win a bunch of cool Venom-themed prizes like a t-shirt, art prints, variant comic covers, and Venom bottle pops. And if you don't know what a Venom bottle pop is, stick around for just a few more minutes and I'll tell you about another cool thing that's happening. So, secondly, and this is the cool thing, you can check out our new sister channel on YouTube, the Venom site, for more Venom videos like Jason's review of the Venom bottle pops we're giving away. We're also going to have another review coming up that Aaron did for us for the Venom Dorbs line. Or is it Dorbs or is it Domes?
It is Domes.
Domes, that's right.
Very cool. Don't miss it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. We'll be posting all of our non-podcast content created by our hosts and other Venomaniacs on this new channel. And then lastly, if you'd like to participate in a live audience like for this episode in the future, you can just join our Discord server by following the link below. And you can check out the podcast chat channel for details about our next recording date. We'll be making announcements on Discord, Twitter, Reddit, and the Venom site website for upcoming recordings. For instance, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say, also too, if you guys know anyone else, who wants to join our Discord server, please don't hesitate. You can take the link from the server and, share it on other social medias like Facebook or Twitter, wherever you guys can. That'll be much appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. The more exposure, the better, especially since we have the Venom movie. There's going to be a lot of new Venom fans. Let them know they have a one-stop place to come and geek out with all of us. So you can join us for our next episode, episode 14, on Saturday, October 6th, when we will be reviewing the Venom movie. So keep an eye out for more details coming soon. So as always, thank you to my fellow hosts, Carlos, Tyler, and Aaron, for joining me today. Thanks for the Venom site for permitting us to make this podcast under the TVS banner and all of your generous support. And finally, thank you to loyal listeners and fellow Venomaniacs, especially you live listeners right now. I know we have like 5 or 6 of you. That's awesome. You guys make an awesome community, and it's an honor to be your voice on the airwaves. Together, we are Venomaniacs.